Okay. Hi, everyone. I want to introduce myself and my very good friend, Brenda Winkle. I'm Nancy Popkin. I'm founder of LoveMoreEatLess.com, and I am a nutrition coach and a general wellness counselor. And I love reading inspirational things online that really help me lead my life in a healthier, more holistic way. And one person who I found to everything she writes just resonates with me like crazy is Brenda. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. So Brenda is a life coach and also a healer. And I had mentioned to Brenda a couple weeks ago that I was going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to talk to a group of first responders about how to deal with the trauma that they have through their job and how to deal with the stress and lead a healthier, more balanced life juggling all that. And we got into a conversation about trauma, and I thought we can make this even better with Brenda's wisdom, not just mine. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I shared with those first responders, and then I would love for you to weigh in on the various aspects of dealing with trauma, no matter what it is, whether it's through our job or our life.
Right.
We're all going to deal with trauma at some point, unfortunately. And as I was mentioning to you, like everyone in my life right now is going through some kind of trauma, it seems.
Right. Well, I've heard someone say once, we're either coming out of a crisis, we're entering into a crisis, or we're right in the middle of a crisis. So that there's like this cycle, and, not to be negative at all, but, just learning to deal with those things that happen in our lives is such a great skill.
It's like the best life skill you could have.
Right.
So tell me what brings you to work in the area of trauma.
Well, I was in an abusive marriage, and when I left the marriage, I assumed that I had some healing to do. I did not know that I had a post-traumatic stress disorder. I thought that was something that was reserved for people in the military or for people that dealt with explosions or other things like that. I didn't know that a day-to-day life could result in PTSD. And so it really made me curious, and it alarmed me a little bit too, but it made me more curious. Like, how do I heal from this? How did I end up with this? How do I move forward from this? So I became really interested in self-studying ways that I could disengage from my own PTSD and things that helped me to heal from it. And I realized that there's not a lot out there for the average person who's dealing with trauma. There's a lot if you end up in mental health counseling.
Right.
There's even a shortage of people who know how to deal with trauma in that field, because it's something we don't really talk about. I mean, so far as trauma, because we hope we don't have it, right? But the truth is, we do. We all, like you were saying, we all will experience trauma in one form or another.
And probably the number of people who are in a traumatic situation, well, first of all, you're so caught up in it that it's hard to even reach out and get that help that you need.
Exactly.
So, and then the percentage of people who are going through something traumatic or have been through and actually get some kind of professional help, that's probably a really low percentage. So, and meanwhile, these are like, they should be teaching this in high school or elementary school or something, because they're skills that we all need to know how to deal with.
Right.
And use.
And see, when we're in trauma, when we're feeling trauma, and I know that you're going to talk more about this.
Yes.
But when we're in trauma, we're either looking back in the past, trying to find ways to either heal differently or ways that we can redo what already happened, or we're looking to the future and we're trying to brace for whatever might happen in the future from a fearful place.
Right.
So what I focus on is learning to deal in the now, because that's where our power is.
Right.
In the now. And that is a skill that we can all learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So from a nutrition standpoint, one of the things that I talk to, and then I want to get into those other modalities and everything. I talk to the first responders about the need to make sure that we're eating a healthy and balanced diet. Because if our blood sugar gets low and we haven't eaten because maybe we're like so anxious and knotted up in our stomach or something, and we haven't eaten, our blood sugar drops, and we are going to be much more likely to come from a weakened emotional state, because the drop in blood sugar affects our brain chemistry, and that's going to make it even harder for us to deal with the trauma.
Exactly.
So
because we cause ourselves more problems because we're feeling reactive and anxious.
Exactly. So the one thing that I always start with is try to make sure that you're eating at a regular schedule, and really taking care of that. And if you feel that drop, knowing that I need to have something on hand,
right?
Because I may not remember to eat because I'm too in my head and maybe thinking about what's going on. So as a self-care mechanism, making sure I have something to go along with it. So we talked about adrenaline rush, which can or cannot happen depending on what your traumatic situation is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that in itself can have a negative effect on our bodies. We burn through B vitamins. We can gain weight. It can affect our digestion. It can really make us exhausted, and then on the other end of that, keep us from sleeping.
Right.
Both. So, and some of, I guess, the signs of having an adrenaline rush are, you rapid heartbeat, maybe you feel clammy, and you can, I guess if you're in that state often enough, you can identify it for yourself and know when you're there. What are some things that we can do when we're feeling that, that sense of maybe panic or adrenaline going?
Well, and I think that sometimes we also have cortisol, which gets released into our bloodstream, which might be more present for some of us than the adrenaline spike.
Interesting.
So I think that when we feel that sense of anxiety, and we all know what that feels like, we might feel twitchy or like the rapid heart rate, like you said, but you might even feel it in your hands. You might feel shaky, or you might feel a quiver in your muscles.
Shaky, that's a good point.
And I think something really simple to do is just to ground yourself in your space. And what I mean by that is feel like the presence of the chair underneath you, and taking ourselves into a moment and being present with, and I know it sounds so kind of woo-woo, but paying attention to where you are in the moment. What does it feel like when I'm sitting in this chair? What are my feet touching? What are my hands touching? What's the surface like? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it cold? Is it warm? Paying attention to those kinds of things takes us out of that adrenaline loop.
Interesting.
And so we can begin to feel a little bit of relief. Another good trick is, while we're doing those things, to focus on the breath. And sometimes if we're really worked up, the only thing we'll be able to focus on is I breathe in, I breathe out.
Right.
And that's okay. If that's all you can manage, that's still a lot.
Right.
And that's a huge difference in how you're feeling.
Yeah. That's a really good suggestion. And like you said, it's taking us out of the past and out of the future and right there into now. So we made a list, the first responders and I, of some things that they could do, some self-care practices. So what we were just talking about just now was in the moment of feeling that anxiety, but there are some things that we can do sort of as an everyday thing that will help us stay balanced and calm and grounded, so to speak, so that when we when we hit the trauma or we approach the anxiety or the stress, we can come at it maybe from a different place.
Right.
And we talked about visualizing things like a happy memory, that, you know, if you have a happy memory on hand that you can go to when you're, and that actually can stop that cortisol loop.
Right.
The happy memory thing. You talked about deep breathing. Now, what about using that as a something that you could do not just when you're in the moment of being anxious, but just as sort of a regular practice?
Oh, I turn to my breathing countless times a day. So it's become such an innate part of how I deal with just day-to-day, even decisions. Because it keeps us focused on the now, and it also helps our body to relax, especially the exhale. So if we can make our exhales a little bit longer than our inhales, we'll find that our blood pressure will begin to get a little bit lower. We can feel our heart rate slow and our breathing slow, and it's those exhales that will do the trick. So the inhale is fine. You can do any tempo that you want, any speed that you want. Exhale, just make each one longer and each one fuller. And by doing that, we're making more space in our bodies to be able to take in more air. And so they teach this a lot in yoga class because it's so effective in being mindful and present in this moment.
So would you recommend doing that once a day, more than once a day?
I would say a minimum of once a day, and anytime you start to feel tension.
Okay, that's good.
And I always try to focus on things that people can take with them somewhere.
Yeah.
This would be one of them. You can do this anywhere, and no one's going to know.
Right.
You're focusing on your exhale. I was doing it the other day in the dentist chair because I have some fear issues surrounding the dentist. And so I was, practicing my breathing in the dentist chair, and it made my appointment fly by.
You know what? I was flying on a plane, like a 4-hour flight with my daughter, and she has anaphylactic food allergies. And so, we're up in the air, however many thousands of feet that is. And, it goes through my head like, okay, we're nowhere near a hospital or whatever if something should happen to her. Of course, she carries EpiPens with her. But I did breathing exercises the entire flight.
Yeah.
And she was sitting next to me, like watching a movie on her computer, and had no idea. But that's how beautiful it is. No one knows you're doing it. Right. She didn't have to know that I was freaked out.
Right. And as parents, especially, it's nice if we can manage our own stress so our kids don't know that we're freaked out.
Right. Exactly. That's a really good skill to have as a parent. Something else that I talked to them about was counting to 10 or counting to 20 as a way to, just put your mind on something else and take it off that immediate anxiety producing thing. Humor. Right. First responders particularly have really dark humor. I used to work in TV newsrooms, and we had some dark humor, but nothing compared to first responders. Social connection. Social connection is so important. I mentioned that, it seems like everybody in my life is dealing with some kind of trauma or another. The fact that we have each other.
Right.
To check in with, to hold each other up. I mean, just before we started this interview, I was on the phone with a friend who's going through something, and she said, I'm going to need you to, help me through this. And I said, I'm here. Like, that social connection.
It's so huge. And there's been tons of studies that it lengthens our lives. It reduces our stress levels. It reduces our risk for cardiac disease. So it's so important.
Yes, I completely agree. Exercise. Exercise stimulates your mood and good mood hormones in your brain, endorphins and serotonin. I say daily, or at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. What are your thoughts about exercise?
I would echo that sentiment exactly. I think it's easy to, especially when you're dealing with trauma, it's easy to overdo a good thing.
Mhm.
So I think that 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week, is a great goal. You can do more or less. If you're not training for something, you probably don't need more than an hour a day.
Right.
Just
Hmm.
the reason I'm saying that is it's so easy for those of us that are feeling trauma or healing from trauma to be like, well, exercise makes me feel good. So 30 minutes is good, then 3 hours must be great. And
Right.
I don't know that that's actually true. So, I mean, maybe for some people it is,
Right.
but not if you're recovering from trauma, because you're avoiding at that point.
Right. So you're using exercise to avoid doing the
Right.
things you need to do?
The mental work that you need to do.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I've done lots of different variations on that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. So you pick something you like, right? It doesn't have to be going to the gym and getting on an elliptical.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is pick something that you like that brings you joy. If you don't like it, you're not going to want to do it. And we have enough stress in our lives and enough things that, we might end up having to do because we're obligated or whatever, that this should be something that brings you joy. And there is something for everyone. I really believe that.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And take a class or two and try to find what it is that we love, but there's something for everyone.
And if you like to do it if you'd rather do it by yourself, like go for a walk, or if you'd rather do it with a group of people, like take a class.
Right, exactly.
And yoga fits right into that.
Yeah, it does. And yoga is something that I am very passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I've been practicing yoga for 6 years, and not coincidentally, it came at the time when I was really ready for some new healing. I had completed about 2.5 years of cognitive therapy counseling for the PTSD, and they had graduated me. And I didn't feel like I was ready to graduate, but right. I was ready to graduate. So I kept looking for I need something else. I wonder what it is. And I was led to a yoga class by my sister. And it was so cool because in yoga, the whole premise is to be in the moment, to appreciate what's now. And I found tremendous healing from yoga because it teaches you to be in the moment with your body, and you realize that you can do hard things, you can endure, and it teaches you how to turn to your breath when things are tough. And there's a whole new study there's several studies about trauma-sensitive yoga. Oh. And it's been proven to help all kinds of trauma, whether it's sexual assault or something in the military from the PTSD from people serving overseas, or people that have prolonged long-term abuse. There's lots of research that says trauma-sensitive yoga is very, very healing. And I know that I gave you one of those links.
Yes, which we'll put in the blog. Absolutely.
And I'm so lucky to live in Boise, which is a really great yoga community. And one of my teachers is really on the front edge of the trauma-sensitive yoga, and she's becoming a regional and national expert on trauma-sensitive yoga.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Wow. I have a good friend who's a yoga teacher and works with women who are going through depression. And she's hoping to eventually be able to offer yoga for refugees to help them deal with the anxiety and stress and everything and the trauma around resettling.
Right. And there is definitely trauma around resettling for the parents and for the kids.
Right. Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, could you imagine being a refugee from, basically a third world country for all intents and purposes, and then to be plopped down in the United States?
It's literally shocking for them. I'm a public school teacher in addition to life coaching. And
yes.
And for the last 11 years, I've been working with refugee populations, not exclusively, but with refugee populations. And very rewarding, but those families go through a lot. Right. So
any healing modalities are good for sure. So what about if somebody thinks I can't do yoga because I don't have a bendy body?
Oh, I would say that's great. We don't do yoga because we have bendy bodies. We do yoga because we would like to have a bendy body.
Mhm.
And, we don't do yoga because we're calm. We're calm because we do yoga.
Right.
Thing. And there's a lot of great stuff out on YouTube. So if going to a yoga class feels intimidating, there's a lot of things that you can do right inside your own home to experiment with it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for trauma survivors,
Right.
I would encourage them to look into yin, Y-I-N yoga or restorative yoga, because it really is very gentle and teaches us to be in the moment with long-held supported poses.
Right.
With the yin and restorative yoga, I would encourage a class, because the class probably has access to the props that are going to allow that person to just melt into the pose in a safe way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love yin yoga.
Me too.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So we talked a little bit already about balanced diets, and we're not focusing on nutrition right in this interview, but so I won't get into it a lot. But our bodies burn through B vitamins when we're stressed. Mm-hmm. So I will include information in the blog post about what foods provide us with those B vitamins, and that we can supplement and make sure that we're getting enough of those Bs when we're under stress, because otherwise we'll get sick. And I know probably a lot of people notice that they're more susceptible to getting sick when they're under stress and going through something tough. And part of that is because we don't have those B vitamins.
Right.
So, so that's important. And of course, we talked about sleeping being an issue when you're going through something traumatic or have a lot of anxiety in your life. I personally really like using herbal teas to help me get to sleep. We were just talking about yoga, a yoga nidra guided meditation.
Those are so luscious.
Yes. That's and for anyone who hasn't done it, it's kind of a progressive, talks you through sort of a progressive relaxation, but it really helps you tap into your body's own ability to settle down.
Right.
And I think that's what, part of what makes it so valuable. Avoiding caffeine, which obviously is a stimulant and can keep us from getting good sleep. Alcohol, which will interrupt our sleep. We might help us get to sleep faster, but we may not, not as well, no.
Plus, that I use sometimes if I'm struggling with sleeping is I'll put a pillow right behind my knees. And there's something about that that's very soothing. So if I'm sleeping on my bed, I'll put a pillow underneath my knees and I'm out like a light.
It's funny that you mentioned that about the knees, because I have a good friend who's a yin yoga teacher, and she says if you're lying on your back and you bring one knee up to your chest at a time, that will also help induce sleep.
Right.
So that's a very similar sensation probably going through your body. Obviously also avoiding soda and drugs, and taking breaks. So stepping away from a situation.
Right. And sometimes it might be more metaphorical than physical, depending on our workplace or what's actually happening. We have to find ways to step away internally.
Right.
Even if it's for 5 minutes. So you could even go into a bathroom stall and you could sit down, put your hands on your thighs and just sit up straight and close your eyes for a minute and breathe. Just quiet for a minute. Another tip, if you have some privacy, is to lay down on the floor and to place your legs up on the wall. And if you don't have the flexibility to do that, you can put your legs up on a chair. And we allow all that nice oxygenated blood right into your brain to give it some fresh nourishment. And it's very calming, and it is also energizing. So that can be a really nice break.
That's a great idea. I had forgotten about that legs up the wall. That's terrific. I was in a salon the other day, and there were magazines, women's magazines with all the, little one-liners that's on the cover of the magazine to get your inside. So one of them was something like, how to de-stress in 30 seconds or something. I thought, I need to see what that is. Everybody needs that. And it was, it was a very short story about using foam rollers.
Oh.
For body massage. And we have a couple of foam rollers at home, and my daughter and I both use them. And there's one that has nubs on it, and we call it Spiky. And there was a picture of Spiky in the magazine, and it was really talking about massage in general and how it can be helpful. But, one of the things I was talking about with the EMTs, because, not everybody can afford a massage once a month or whatever, or even have the time if they could afford it. So these foam rollers allow you to really do self-massage.
Right. And, along those same lines, interrelated, is if you buy yoga props, like a yoga bolster and some yoga blocks, you can get the same sensations as a massage in a lot of those yin yoga or restorative yoga poses, where you can get some release across your shoulders, in front of your or in your low back or whatever.
Right. That's one of, I love doing supported bridge pose, because it really, the way that your weight distributes across the back of your shoulders, you really feel like, you're getting like a great shoulder stretch.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maintaining a regular sleep schedule is good if you're dealing with constant trauma or in a traumatic situation. Finding an accountability partner. And I guess that goes partly to the whole social connection thing. But one of the things that I was talking to the EMTs about is, find a buddy that you can check in with. And then when you check in with that buddy, don't just say, hey, how you doing, and make small talk. Like, ask questions and then listen for the response. Because it's really in that connecting that we can heal each other.
Absolutely. And when we're connecting with another person and we're offering some of our inner thinking or whatever's going on with us, we're being vulnerable. And that vulnerability helps those connections grow, because when one of us is vulnerable with another one of us, then they reciprocate often in a healthy relationship. And that's relationship building, where you develop that sense of trust.
Right.
Be vulnerable with each other.
Do you have suggestions for someone who maybe has trouble in that area of opening up to someone or having someone that they can turn to in that way?
Well, I think that if someone is struggling with vulnerability, the first question I would ask, and of course this is because it's my background, I would ask them to look at their relationships. Are their relationships healthy? It might be that their relationships are healthy and they just haven't had the courage to be vulnerable. It might also be that their relationships are not healthy enough to withstand vulnerability. And if that's the case, it's time for some new relationships. And in any case, I think it's really important to find someone we can be vulnerable with, whether it's a therapist or a life coach or a health coach or a wellness coach. Even if it's somebody in a paid position, as we kind of work through some things in our own vulnerability, that can be a really nice stepping stone.
Right.
If we're struggling in that area. And then I think, picking one person that you can really trust, that you've known long enough that you're not oversharing, if you know what I mean.
Right.
That you have an established relationship with, that you can talk to about these things, and maybe just try little things, a layer here, and just see if the reciprocal nature of the vulnerability sharing is there. And if it is, then you can build on that. And it does take courage. Oh my gosh. It does.
Right. And sometimes I find that for myself, I do turn to those people that I've had the relationships with the longest.
Right.
Like 2 of my closest girlfriends are women who I don't get to see on a regular basis because of where we live, but we've been in each other's lives for a really long time. And there's that there's a security in that.
Right. And I moved around a lot. So I've been in Boise almost 12 years, but prior to that, I had lived in Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, South Dakota, and just had kind of moved all over the West. And so I was able to form really meaningful surface relationships. It was a rare relationship that I built prior to moving to Boise that had any depth of sharing. And that was partially because that's where I was. That was just where I was in my own marriage, because it's been almost 9 years since I've been out of that.
Congratulations.
That I was able to grow in. Thank you. That I was able to grow into being vulnerable and being able to trust other people. And so the relationships that I have that are very rich and healthy are, for the most part, on the new side. They're 12 years or so old. So they don't have those long relationships. But I think that giving things time is really important. We have to know that it might take time to develop a new relationship where you can share, and that shared experiences are a great place to start. So invite someone for coffee, or talk to somebody after yoga class, or ask a coworker if they want to go have a drink one evening, and just start with those shared experiences and see what happens.
Right. That's great advice. Really great advice. Gratitude. I know that that's something that is important to you.
Yes, absolutely. It's very important, because when we're in gratitude, we're counting our blessings. We're looking at what is it in our lives that is going well? What do we want more of? And it's my belief that the universe treats that in the same way. When we're grateful, the universe says, oh, okay, well, I'm going to give more of that, because the universe understands where we're vibrating. And if we're grateful for someone's kindness and we express that, the universe sort of looks at it like it's an order form, and they'll bring us more of that same kind of kindness. God, source, spirit, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable.
Right. What a beautiful way of looking at that. I love that. So we had talked about a meditation that a person could do really just about anywhere that they are, to help counter the effects of trauma, anxiety, and put us in a better state of mind, and maybe even take us out of an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
So talk us through that.
So first of all, I really like to have a straight spine. So we're hips up to the crown of our head. So we have our ears over shoulders, over hips if we're seated. And it makes sense to be seated. If you're laying down, I think that there's some meditation teachers that discourage laying down, because for a new meditator, you might fall asleep. I feel like if you're drawn to lay down, follow your body's inclination and lay down. And if you fall asleep, that might be part of your meditation that day. And that's okay. So, but keeping this straight is really important. And then I recognize that we have a lot of different kinds of work scenarios. We've got people in cubicles, people driving trucks. We've got people in classrooms and people in retail spaces. And so it's not always possible for us to get any privacy to go meditate and do, hand positions or something where we wouldn't feel self-conscious. So this is designed to help anybody in any situation feel really comfortable, because you're going to look so normal that no one will know what you're doing. So sitting up straight and then placing your hands down on your thighs or your knees is a way for us to ground. So if you're tired and you need energy, you can place your palms up on your thighs or your knees. But it's a little more conspicuous depending on where you are if you do that. Most of us, if we're feeling anxiety, we don't need more energy. We need to ground and turn inward. And so we're going to do what's called a square breath. which is inhale for 5 seconds, and then we hold the inhale for 5 seconds. Exhale for 5 seconds, and then hold the exhale for 5 seconds.
Okay.
So we'll do 3 of those. I think 3 is a magic number. And then try to have it be more organic. And it might mean that your exhales maybe 6 or 7 seconds. And then holding out the exhale is very counterintuitive. Most of us are exhale and we're ready right again to breathe in that inhalation. But holding it out takes focus.
Okay.
It's concentration, which is why it's really effective in changing our body chemistry and helping us relax.
Interesting.
So we can try it right now if you want to. So we'll just sit up straight.
Okay.
And we're going to breathe in mostly through our nose. And we'll also exhale through our nose for the first 3. On the 4th one, we'll exhale through our mouth, and we'll sound like we're fogging up a mirror on like a.
Okay.
So we'll do 3 inhalations and exhalations through our nose, and then the 4th one, we'll inhale through our nose and exhale through our mouth. So let's get ready to begin. We'll inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through your mouth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your eyes closed. Allow your breathing to become more organic. Lengthen your exhales. One last deep breath in. And open your eyes. And it took, I wasn't timing it, but it probably took 30 seconds.
Right.
It just changes your energy.
It does.
So powerful.
And I do think that the counting focuses your mind.
Absolutely.
And I can definitely see the benefits of that.
Mm-hmm. And it's really effective. And you can do it anywhere. You can face your computer monitor and no one even knows your eyes are closed.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so I have that we listed 16 different modalities that people can use.
Yeah.
Plus the meditation that you've walked us through. Hopefully our viewers are able to find a couple of things that they can put into practice on a daily basis. So I would just like to wrap up, if you wouldn't mind. I'm going to have all your information with links to your blog so people can really read your wisdom about how to incorporate these little things into our lives, how to find lessons in the things that maybe are uncomfortable. And but just real quickly before we go, tell us a little bit about how you work with your clients and what clients could expect if they wanted to work with you further on maybe their own issues of trauma.
Okay. Well, I'm based out of Boise, Idaho, but I do a lot of Zoom meetings or Skype meetings. And so even people that are here local in Boise often want to have video meetings because they're so convenient.
Yes.
And so I am a Reiki master,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also certified in Theta Healing, which really adds to the healing modalities, and both of those come into play when I'm doing some coaching, because I feel like we want to heal mind, body, spirit. And so what people can expect is that it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick pill.
Mm-hmm.
It will require some introspection,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm there to support you. And because of the Reiki and the Theta, I have some insight into how might be best for different individuals
Mm-hmm.
to work on healing. And
So Reiki is really about energy and how energy can be healing. How does the Theta healing work?
Theta healing it's a different healing modality.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally it was written by Viana Stiebel, based out of Montana now. It used to be
Oh.
Idaho. And she is a Hay House author.
Mm-hmm.
And Theta healing is essentially a meditative technique that allows you to heal mind, body, and spirit. And so it's very powerful, but it's just a different healing modality.
Okay. All right. So, but you don't have to have any kind of meditation experience to begin with to use it.
Absolutely none. In fact, the only thing required is a willingness to change,
Right.
to change your perspective or to change what's going on for you.
That's terrific. So, viewers who are watching this interview will be able to get all the links to you and to me, and to find out how they can really take the first steps in either setting themselves up to deal with their daily trauma, if they are in a work situation where they deal with trauma every day, or if it's something specific to their personal life, whether it's their job or their livelihood, their financial situation, family, relationships.
Yeah.
Huge. So I really appreciate you taking this time to really help me expound upon what I'm sharing with people that I'm able to touch, and then with this video, able to reach so many more people. So Brenda, thank you so much. You're such an inspiration to me today and every day, and I look forward to connecting more myself with you, and also my clients and the world at large.
Oh,
So
I'm
thank
so
you so
excited.
much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, we'll talk again soon.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Terrific. Thanks.
Thank you.